Amrullah Saleh, thanks for joining me on UpFront. You were appointed by Afghan President Ashraf Ghani in March as State Minister for Security Reforms. But in early June, just 3 months later, you quit and announced your resignation on Facebook without any real explanation. Why?
Well, I did give the real explanation in person when I met our president and when I had a conversation with the National Security Advisor of Afghanistan. I didn't want to reveal the details because I thought it's not going to be helping.
So as of today, you cannot tell us why you departed from the Afghan government. It's a secret.
It's a secret because we are in a war situation. If it was a peaceful situation, I would have gone public with all the details, but I deem it necessary for the sake of my country and for the sake of the people of Afghanistan. If I do reveal the details, it will give me more political space, but it will also help the enemies of my country, and I will not go into details.
Let's take a step back. We're now in the 16th year of the US-led war in Afghanistan, a war that was partly about driving out the Taliban, but today their ability to strike at will seems stronger than ever. That's pretty embarrassing for someone like yourself, who has been leading the fight against the Taliban since 2001.
I don't think it's embarrassing for me as a person. It's embarrassing for the entire international community who have been on our side, waging the war on terror. We are fighting a terrorist group sponsored and assisted by a nuclear state sitting next to us. So it's a complicated situation. It's not as simple as you put it.
In the past, you've come out against negotiating with the Taliban. You've said it would give them legitimacy and space to militant extremism. If you're saying that a negotiated solution is not the solution, then what is the solution? It can't be a military solution because you've tried that for 16 years and failed miserably.
We have not tried a military solution in full scale in the last 16 years. That's a myth. United States had a very light footprint in Afghanistan from 2001 to 2008 and even 2009. They brought in what they call a military surge only in 2009, and they brought it with a flawed political strategy, which was to say that we are only here for 4 years, then withdraw regardless of the situation on the ground. It was a calendar-based military surge, but they also forgot another harsh reality, which is the existence of sanctuaries for leadership of the Taliban, for ideology of the Taliban, for financial networks of the Taliban in Karachi, in Islamabad, in Peshawar, in Quetta. So therefore, we have not failed. We have not recognized the problem as a global community, and that recognition and realization is a must.
Just sticking with fighting the Taliban and the US role, are you saying there is a military solution in your view in which the Taliban can be defeated, even though they couldn't be defeated when the US had 100,000 troops in Afghanistan? Why do you think President Trump and his generals will provide the political and military strategy that President Obama and his generals didn't?
What we are saying to the Americans is you are fighting the terrorists downstream. Upstream is a nuclear state who are financing and providing facilities for our common enemy.
Which is also
so
a
what
US
we are telling
ally.
them is do it differently.
It's a major
go to the source and go to the root cause of this.
Pakistan is a major non-NATO ally of the United States. President Trump is not about to declare war on Pakistan as much as you might want him to. So again, what is the strategy here? You're saying send more troops to Afghanistan and start a war with Pakistan. Only one of those two things will happen.
Well, we do not necessarily expect that based on our recommendation, Washington declares war on Pakistan, but at least we are sitting on massive amount of intelligence, both us and the Americans, which clearly shows Pakistan is supporting terrorism. What the United States does need is come out with more clarity and tell the Pakistanis, we know what you are doing, and we are a superpower, but we do not have super patience. even that realization and open acknowledgement will change things.
A lot of counterinsurgency experts, terrorism experts, Afghanistan experts, they say that the presence of foreign forces, US forces, has acted as a recruiting sergeant for the Taliban, and that sending more US forces will only bolster the Taliban narrative, the Taliban recruitment process. In fact, your former boss, former Afghan President Hamid Karzai, said recently that increased US bombing and military action, quote, naturally causes resentment and legitimizes any resistance to it.
Well, I have not been in agreement and in sync with certain ideas and some specific ideas and propositions of our former president since 2010, and I still hope that President Karzai will not look into it from a very narrow lens. He should look into the reality of Afghanistan, where most of the people, the majority of the Afghan people, oppose to Taliban and to terrorism. He should side with the majority and ask for the defeat of these bloodthirsty groups.
Is there any evidence that the majority of Afghan people want more US forces?
No, you should not twist the narrative. The majority of the Afghans want to be a responsible, dignified member of the international community.
It's a very simple question, no twisting. Do you have any evidence that the majority of Afghans want to see more American forces on the ground?
The majority of the Afghan people want a much deeper, much stronger partnership with the United States and with NATO in order to defeat terrorism. Sometimes that statements can be translated into asking for more military assistance, and sometimes that means more other types of strategic engagement. So therefore, we should look at it into a broader context.
Okay. Amrullah Saleh, a lot of experts say that the US it's not just the US that has acted as a quote-unquote recruiting sergeant for the Taliban, so have some of the actions of the Afghan government. You served for 6 years as the head of Afghanistan's National Intelligence Service, the National Directorate of Security, between 2004 and 2010. During that time, Human Rights Watch documented numerous incidents of torture, of detainees being beaten and subjected to electric shocks, being deprived of food and water by your forces. Not only are such practices immoral and illegal under Afghan law, but you could argue that they drive people into the arms of the Taliban, and that happened on your watch.
Let me be very specific to your question. First of all, I am a son of the soil, and I am not agreeing to these so-called experts who come for a few days and remain behind high walls, high blast walls, and then write a report. During my time as the head of the Afghan intelligence, I brought massive reform. We introduced new and humane interrogation methods. When I was head of the Afghan intelligence, the level of violence was low. It was a period of real pride for me to serve my country, to serve my government.
6 years after you took over, Human Rights Watch was saying that still the NDS were beating and subjecting to electric shock for days detainees, depriving them of food and water. That's Human Rights Watch. Are they lying? Are they making this up?
A lot of times, Mr. Hasan, you have to look at the work of these NGOs as a way of becoming apologists for reconciliation and resettlement. I do not necessarily endorse what they say or echo their concerns. Of course, we are not perfect. No country is perfect. Mistakes do happen. But the scope of the problem is not what they are claiming to be.
Amrullah Saleh, thanks for joining me on UpFront.
Thank you.